Afternoon, everybody. Yes, I'm John Mitchell. I'm from CDS in Microsoft, which is Consumer and Device Sales. Hacked my way into this event to try and talk to you about a topic which we're doing a lot of work with our device partners with, but they're actually finding a lot of success of sort of moving into your world and start to develop extra revenue for those guys. So I thought I'd come and talk to you to see if this is an extra tool in your sort of toolkit as you go to customers to look at growing your cloud business. Now, I'm sure you've all seen the intelligent cloud and the intelligent edge, and we at CDS really think about ourselves as the intelligent edge. You know, to get to the cloud, all these different inputs, all these different devices are the way that customers are going to experience all that greatness, all that AI and work that you guys put together with them. And we're actually seeing a huge opportunity come through specifically through Microsoft devices, which is good news. So Guy's just spoken about obviously Server 2008 end of support, and happening at exactly the same time you've got Windows 7 going to end of extended support. So that's 10 years old now. So I know how many phones I've gone through in 10 years. I know my opinion of the world 10 years ago versus how I think about it now. And I know that Windows 7 was built for a completely different requirement for productivity and a different security landscape as well. So yes, January 14th, 2020. So we've got like 14 months to go until we hit end of extended support, so no more security updates. And the thing that really brought this real to me, and I'll show you the numbers about how many companies are still running Windows 7 devices. I was speaking to Stuart Aston, who's our security chief at Microsoft, who came to one of my partner events to talk to those guys, and he really put it into real terms for our partners and scared all of us into thinking, you know, when we hit the end of support in January 14th, 2020, Windows 10 will do an update in the spring, whatever RS version that is. When we do that update, that's the first time that we've moved Windows 10 ahead of Windows 7 in terms of a platform. And any hacker out there can immediately just reverse engineer that update that we've done and see all the holes that are in 7. It's very wide open. So that's for us, and that's the way that he put it in terms of really putting the fear of God, mainly for me to go to my parents and make sure they're sorted out. But that sort of security point of view is quite concerning. But then when you think about the goodness of the new devices and how successful Windows 10 has been so far, it's quite encouraging. I quite like this because it's quite funny in respects of 2/5 of employers state that they want to or would quit their job because of the poor workplace technology that's put in front of them. And the cost to businesses about poor technology is huge. I'll touch on that shortly as well. But this opportunity from a device point of view, what we're finding is really driving the modern workplace solution. And I'm not just talking about the great new device, but everything behind that. So the M365 attach that we're starting to see come through from our partners is very exciting. For me, I'm thinking, is that a good opportunity to use this opportunity in the reverse way? Because actually the new device can really accelerate that deployment to new and to the cloud. So if we look globally at Windows 7 commercial end of support as say, an opportunity, then Microsoft Corp, we love a good study. And one study said, you know, there's over $100 billion worth of partner solutions and services revenue available off of the back of this moment in time, which is pretty interesting. If you look at globally the installed base of Windows 7 devices, then you can see 25% of devices are in the US. And 4% of devices are in the UK. So that's, you know, just under 7 million devices in the UK that are still running Windows 7 in commercial. A few months old, this slide, so it will always be ticking down, and we are seeing a lot of motion in the market. If I looked at our last IDC data, which is the shipments into market, we had 15.8% device growth, so 4.2 million new devices being sold into companies. Every one of those could have been a conversation about migrating to modern and all the great new solutions you guys have. And then if you have a look at you know, where is that opportunity in terms of customers, it's pretty widespread. So we can see, you know, SMBs, almost half of the market for Windows 7 devices still being used, sat in SMB, but also enterprise, you know, 36% of that, just under 7 million number I gave you. And then government is 17%. So lots of different verticals, lots of different opportunities to talk modern with those guys. What's most interesting about sort of the SMB and sort of mid-market opportunity is that 55% of them not really aware of this end of support moment in time. And again, Microsoft, we don't want to be going out there concerning people and talking about it as a negative thing. We want to talk about it as the opportunity to move to Windows 10, to move to new devices, and that sort of great improvement that will give to your business. And recently talking to our SMC, so our commercial team that are talking to those customers, they've embraced this opportunity and are starting to talk to their customers around sort of the 4 pillars that I mentioned. So it's quite an interesting point. So let's talk about the benefits of Windows 10 new devices in terms of digital transformation, which I know I've said it, so that's a tick for me from a Microsoft point of view. I've got digital transformation in. Really, security is the main sort of point, the main factor that makes a real difference, and I'll hopefully bring that to life in a couple of slides. But of course, they're designed for modern. They're much one of the biggest pain points of all is the short battery life and the weight of these devices, because everyone's living a modern sort of mobile experience. And with the modern devices having sort of 10 to 12 hours battery life, and of course I'm not just talking about Surface, we have loads of great OEM partners that can do specific devices for different verticals and different solutions that are required. So this is quite a favourite piece for me, because this is the stuff that really makes customers sit up and start to think about where they want to modernise their platform. So if you look at old devices, so worldwide there's 46 million devices in SMBs that are over 4 years old, and there's a big chunk of those are running Windows 7. Actually, the maintenance cost to a business for a 4-year-old device, when you look at the repairs, when you look at all of the downtime that you've got there in terms of that maintenance, it's £1,300 a year per device for a business. You look at the security angle, almost 50% of UK businesses have suffered a data breach, and the device is a key part of keeping those data breaches out of your business, and the typical cost is 60k pounds in the UK, which for a lot of businesses, once that happens, that's the end of that business. Others can protect against that more, but it's a hugely concerning point, and it is the number one point, security, for updating. And then in terms of productivity, I think we're probably all on modern. We no longer do the turn the laptop on, go make a cup of tea, come back, all of those types of experiences. But there's still nearly 7 million devices out there that potentially are giving that experience. If we really want those customers to have that great experience in the cloud, the device is hugely important. It does not need to be a hugely expensive device. The Windows devices that we have start from £250. So there's a huge selection tailored for those different customers. And then in terms of performance, you get 2.5 times slower, 3 times less battery life from these legacy products. So quite startling. And as I said, the most compelling story that people are looking for is around that security, and understanding the benefits of the device onto all the other security stories you're pitching could give you that extra opportunity to discuss. I quite like this representation of it. So if you look at the sort of 5 blocks at the bottom, you've got the 4 blocks of sort of pre-breach when it comes to security, and then the post-breach. So you can see on Windows 7 the security features that we had there, all based on pre-breach. Nothing you could do once somebody was inside your ecosystem, but that was the bedrock, if you like. When we launched Windows 10 and people were upgrading their devices that they currently had, so those sort of 4, 5, 6-year-old devices now, we obviously added lots of new features that had great security features. Microsoft Edge, great example, or Windows Hello. I've not used a password now. I'm living it. I just use the code on my device, and that just unlocks everything for me. So if anybody even saw the code that I typed in, unless they physically use my device, they can't get into my system, and I'm pretty good at noticing if my laptop is not in front of me on my desk. So those types of features are great. But these features here in yellow are the features that will only come to life if you've got a new Windows 10 device running the latest version of Windows 10. And you can see there, in terms of the post-breach, you get 2 additional features that come through. I'm not going to do the whole pitch now because you don't want that pitch, but it gives you that good idea of that story in terms of how important it is when your customers tell you what's the number one important thing to them. I reckon a lot of the time it is security, and actually that input device plays such an important role. Microsoft do a great job with Surface. We do a really good job with our OEM partners. I don't know if you've seen with HP with their Sure View feature on their devices. So if you remember in the old days when you used to put the bit of acetate in front of the screen just to block out from other people looking from different angles, a pretty clunky piece you put there. There's one button on the HP that you press, and the Sure View makes sure that only you are the person that can see the screen. Any other angle, anywhere further away, they can't see what's happening on your screen, which for those workers that are traveling, public transport, flying, all that type of stuff, goes down really, really well. That's a quick time check, so for a couple of minutes. So I'm not going to drain the slide in terms of these additional features, and I want to talk to you more about the benefit for what you're trying to do with the devices. I'm not saying you should go out there and start selling devices, but if you're having the conversation about the device with your partner, on average, if I look at an E3 M365 agreement into our customers, the average revenue is $400 when it's sold with a new OEM device, which is a really interesting fact and the bit of the business that I think you guys are going to be very interested in. You can see all those sort of features spinning it round to, it's not the negative of Windows 7, but it's the positive of Windows 10 plus a new device. And again, dependent on what type of customers you guys are talking to, there is a device fit for different verticals. We like doing the education presentations because we like to drop products in front of people, throw water over them, get them to try and unpick the keys because they're specifically made for education. All those things can't happen. And again, with our Panasonic range of Toughbooks for construction, loads of good stories, get lined up with the right device for the right vertical, and it will have those opportunities to have those conversations. And as I said, this is really about linking the two opportunities together. Our partners are really starting to get traction to telling the extended story. Could be a great opportunity for you guys, and think of it about that opportunity to open the door to even more conversations. Quick fit from a success point of view, just to say, it's not just us talking about it. So obviously, I think you guys all know Quick Fit for when your MOT or car servicing is up, and they, until quite recently, were just doing paper signing for their customers, and they wanted a device to go digital for that sort of first-line worker. And they're evaluating lots of different solutions. They went for the Microsoft solution because we were able, through our partners, to create a device 100% bespoke for them, to their requirement, spec'd out in the UK and made in China, and brought through all the way through Microsoft. And it also went with Azure Revenue because it was a full solution, back-end solution built into the cloud. So it was an absolute win-win for that full piece. And there's lots of examples of these companies looking to digitalize parts of their business, and what it leads to is a much wider Microsoft conversation. So we created a program called The Cost of Doing Nothing that our partners have taken to market, and they're starting to have these conversations with all of their customers, and having really good feedback in terms of that refresh opportunity. The ones that are driving a DaaS solution as well, so device as a service, monthly, flexible for the amount of users that a business will have, again, are having lots of traction. You guys as a CSP partner know the best of all in terms of how those motion work. So again, you could get to right at the forefront of that. You think about cars, it's all, 96% of the market is this kind of subscription model. It's still only 4 or 5% in devices, but we are seeing that forecast to increase to about 30% over the next 3 years. Windows Analytics is the one tool, if I said what's the go-do with those customers, get them to run Windows Analytics in their system, so that can give you all a good understanding of how ready they are for Windows 10 if they've not migrated yet, they're still on 7, and what their devices will and won't be able to do when it comes to the full Windows productivity, security, all those solutions. There's a link there as well to the Cost of Doing Nothing assets, which is similar to what Guy was saying. We've got all the assets for you to send to your customers if you just want something to go in there and initiate that conversation.